Hello everybody, Reggie Time here with the start of the week update on how my week of short deck went last week. I wasn't planning on making a video on Monday, but sadly the family I mostly work with still having some COVID related problems, so I won't be working for another week or a bit with the family, which is a real shame. Everyone's well, no one's like really poorly with it, but nevertheless it's a major inconvenience for them, and it's a shame for me because I like seeing them, I enjoy working with them, and I especially enjoy working with a young man. But that said, I've got a week off again, so I should be able to put plenty of volume in for poker. These videos aren't doing too well on views. I think that's partly because I'm sharing them on Facebook, direct to Facebook too now, and not directing people to my YouTube page. But if you are enjoying the content, please do hit the like, please comment below, please do subscribe, and if you are a subscriber, please hit the little notification bell, and when you get the notification, please give the video a click, just to try and get some views up so we can try and spread the word about the wonderful game that is short deck poker. So on to my results for the month. Still doing very well. We've played around 10,000 hands and we've won, give or take, 20 odd buy-ins, so our win rate's really good. Can't be exactly sure how many buy-ins we've won because I have played a little bit of higher stakes. Not sure if I'm up or down because it's difficult to separate through stakes in the app, but last week in particular was not a good week. If we say we started on the 18th, we had a good start to the week, we had a winner, then we just went lose, lose, lose. And this part here was when I was, I'd played with my strategy and watched quite a lot of training content, and I decided to go with the limp first in like these, at least these three positions. And as you can see, it was not a strategy that works particularly well for me. I had a real problem with it. I was finding that I would limp in one of these two positions, and in later positions I would be facing some large ISO races, sometimes all in, sometimes just like between 15 to 20 antes. I didn't really know, my limp jamming ranges weren't too clever. What the hell can you limp call when somebody makes it 15 to 20 antes? And I really struggled. I struggled with my pre-flop decisions. I got lost, and there was a lot of all in, some spew, some run bad. In the first week, when we were like just winning every day, where we probably started here, win, small loss, big win again. I ran massively over EV. It's impossible to know how far over EV, but clearly you don't win like this and not be running really hot. Conversely, you don't lose like this and then just be playing really badly. There's a lot of cold run in there too, and that's just the nature of this game. You know, there's going to be lots of swings. I've had every session, on more sessions. There hasn't been many sessions where it's just been 2 or 3 buy-ins either way. There's been lots of sessions where I've gone down 10, 11 buy-ins and clawed back a little bit, so it's not been as bad. But yeah, in the middle part of the week, when I was using the predominantly limp all strategy, I did really quite badly, and I just decided, I get it, some respected coaches are saying this is a good strategy, but in these particular games, I'm not convinced that they are. I'm not convinced it's as good as it is if you were playing in games with better players who were. I'm not sure how to describe it. I'm not experienced enough yet, but I think the more we limp pre-flop, the more we end up in all fold situations pre-flop, where I think my edge is at its lowest, because you get it in with Ace King versus Jack 10, it's a flip. You get it in with Ace King versus 10-9, it's virtually a flip. You get it in with Pocket Kings versus Ace King, it's not that far off a flip. So it felt like I was just like flipping an awful lot and didn't really know, is that where my edge is? If that's where the edge is in this game, full stop, then it's not the game I thought it was, and that isn't where the edge is in this game. So I started just making small raises rather than limping first in. I will over limp with marginal hands in late position, Sometimes I will over limp from maybe these two seats, but rarely limping to limp raise. Usually just like making small raises. Because what I've found, and again I could be wrong, it might just be these particular games we're playing in. If I limp and say this dude here has like an ace jack suited or a king queen suited, if I limp, sorry, and then he limps, he'll get to him, and he might just like make it like 15, 16 antes to see a flop, and then I'm having to jam or fold pre. You might make it 12 antes, and I'm feeling like I'm having to jam or fold pre with my ace jack, with my king queen, with my ace queen, things like that. With my jack queen suited, with my jack tens, so it's like massively upping the pre-flop variance whilst not having a huge advantage with the ranges of getting it in with, possibly getting it even overall, getting it in, with a range disadvantage. But I've found if I'm making it like just 6 antes pre from this position, 6, 7 antes, from these first 3 or 4, from these first 2 or 3 positions, people with the king queens, with the ace jacks, with the stuff that if they saw 2 limps they would attack with a big ISO raise, they're now just calling with. So therefore we're getting to flops more cheaply. We get into flops with the initiative, and then crucially we get into flops with a reasonable SPR still against players who I feel I have a huge advantage against post flop, whilst having very little advantage pre flop. So I'm not sure I'm going to put this correctly, but the small pre flop raise seems to work as a pot controlling measure pre-flop better than a limp does, and that might sound bonkers, and I might look back on this in 2 or 3 weeks time and think, fuck me, you were talking out of your arse, Rich. But I don't think I will. I think when we limp under the gun, when the times we want to see flops versus raises is way more expensive than when we raise ourselves. And the other time about when we limp under the gun, if people aren't making huge ISO raises, you're routinely going to the flop 5-handed from the worst position at the table. So say you limp aces or you limp pocket kings, 4 other players limp along with you, then you go to the flop 5-handed in a game where equities run far closer even than no limit. Like go to the flop in no limit 5-handed with aces or kings is terrifying. In this game, you may as well just check fold all the time. Whereas if you raise under the gun, you might end up just going to the flop 3-handed. Things like that. So is it the best strategy? Lots and lots of very good players say no, it isn't. Is it the best strategy for me right now in terms of like where I'm at in the game? It feels like it is, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So yeah, as you can see, what we're now 25th. So we had like a winning day on the Monday. Then we employed the limp strategy, and we just went lose, lose, lose. I decided to abandon the limp strategy, and we had a bit of a comeback. Not brilliant, but not as bad. We won on the Friday, lost small Saturday, lost small Sunday. We didn't play very much at all. This is also my play yesterday too on Sunday. The days tick over at funny times of day. So yesterday we played. Since we stopped limping, we won 7 buy-ins on the Friday. We basically broke even on the Saturday. And yesterday we lost less than 4 buy-ins. So it seems to have stemmed the flow of blood a little bit. We're going to get into a session very soon where we're going to be playing a live session, probably for around just 30 minutes or so. The long videos don't seem to be gaining that much traction, and to be frank, uploading 2-hour videos to YouTube is fucking pointless. So I'll probably play for around half an hour or so, and hopefully give you guys who haven't yet joined these games but are interested a feel for how the games play. So here we are, we have some action. Tables at this time of day. We are playing at 10:25 in the AM, so it's like early evening Asia time. I think there's some Euros, quite a few Euros play this game too. So it's not the highest traffic time of day. It took me maybe 20 minutes to get these tables started. This one was already running. We've started this one and this one. So with it not being the best time of day to play, I'm going to play for half an hour and then leave no matter how good the tables are, because I have a couple of chores to run. I need to go to the shop. I need to go and visit Mum, and then drop my car at the garage because there's a problem with the thermostat, I think. Thermostat or a sensor or something. The fan keeps coming on for no good reason when the car isn't overheating, so that's a ball ache. But now I don't need the car all week. They can have it as long as they fucking need to actually fix the fucking thing. So yeah, we're going to play probably just for half an hour. Then no matter how good the tables are, I'm leaving for a bit, and then I'll put my main session in this afternoon. Normally would play an evening session, but tonight that won't be happening because my favourite Sky streamer is on tonight. Those of you familiar with the Sky streams, Juicenberg123 will be streaming from either 6:30 PM or 7 PM. And I'll be watching him. Then I'll be watching the Polka Negreanu grudge match on mute until Juicenberg's posted all his tournaments. So yeah, this is going to be probably a couple of afternoon sessions depending on when I choose to nap. And tomorrow, Wednesday, etc. They'll be the days where I try and put my grind in. I'm aiming for a minimum of 5,000 hands a week playing this game. Hoping for more, but a minimum of 5,000, which should be very, very doable, especially with me having no work again this week. This flop is just going to be a give up with the ace king at opposition to two players. I know Jack. I'm in a study group with Jack. He's very, very new to the game. He's very tight, which I think is a fine way to start approaching the game. I mean, you're meant to play loose in this game. You're meant to play looser than both I and Jack play. But I think when you're first starting out learning a game, it's probably best to err on the side of tight until you get better. And then the better you get, the more hands you can pop into your ranges in all positions. Against someone like this, I expect when he's like raising from this seat, he's going to be incredibly strong, but 8-9 is very playable from the button. I've been position post flop against someone who's going to be making a ton of mistakes. I think with bottom pair and just a weak flush draw, we're going to fold to his c-bet. I'm not going to worry too much about it. We're probably giving up a little bit of EV there, but not a huge amount. A player that's 60-16 is doing a lot of limping, so when he does raise, I expect him to be very high card and big pair heavy. But when we have the button and we're getting a good price pre-flop with a hand that's like a pure connector, I think it's definitely going to be better to call that hand than fold it long term. This time it didn't work out. We flopped a pair and a weak flush draw, which isn't really what we're looking for when we defend 8-9 versus what we presume is a relatively strong early position raise. I think I'm certainly going to play tighter this week than I played last week. I think a lot of the hands towards the... Like I've got some range chats now, and I think that a lot of the hands towards the bottom of those ranges from each position can be lobbed off when we're just starting to learn the game. I guess these range chats are there for you to be something to aspire to, maybe not necessarily as a starting point. I think that's another problem like lots of players have with all games, no limit, pot limit, format, etc. is they get the range charts and they just play them religiously from their very starting point in a game. And I think a lot of the time, like some of the weakest hands in each position, probably shouldn't be played by novice players. And I'm still very much a novice player in this game. Now I think all of my opponents are novice players too. But I think when I was coaching No Limit, and it's something I stand by, when you're starting out in a game and you're a novice, to me, you're best playing on the tighter side, getting used to playing the top and middle parts of your range well pre-flop, and like understanding all the spots you get in with the top and middle part of your range before you start adding hands from the bottom of the range. Because the wider your range is pre-flop, the weaker the hand you start with, the more problems you find yourself getting into post-flop, because you just don't have the skills to play the more marginal spots. My hand don't necessarily have the skills to play some of the middle parts of my range, opening range in these spots. So God knows I'm nowhere near having the skill to play at the bottom of my range. We've opened the kings here. We've got an SPR of like 2, and we're just going to bet really big and just go with our hand here. Don't want to overcomplicate things. If someone's got us beat already on 779, then we're just going to have to lose all our money. So there's a lot of draws out there that we get a lot of. We need to get, find a lot of protection from. Even though we have, I think we just have to call the versus to bet this size. Raising up big from the bottom with the ace king over here, willing to get it in pre-flop against anybody with the ace king. And the jack 9. We double barrels into 2 players, and it's just a piece of cheese. So we'll let it go. Ace king kind of misses. We have a good shot, some overcards. I think I'm just going to try and take my free card here. I think there's we can have a lot of semi-bluffs here. Ace king doesn't need to be one of them. Like jack 9s, jack 8s, king jacks, etc. all make far better bluffs. And here we've just turned the nuts, so we're going to get it in and hope to hold. I don't care if we take it down now. I'd rather have the call, of course, because we have the nuts, but nice pot just to take down without any more of a fight. And overlimp the jack queen against like a fishy limp here. Against regulars, I tend to overlimp more with all of my range. And then against fish, I'm going to be looking to try and isolate them, because I think regulars are going to have many, many, many more limp raises in their pre-flop ranges than fish are. Fish are going to be limp calling a hell of a lot. Regulars are going to be limp calling some, limp raising others, and as much as jack queen are going to do just fine all in pre-flop and they'll not be too bad. I think versus a limp raising range, it's not going to be in good shape. We flop a pair. Now, I know jack's very, very tight, so top pair, isn't that much of an attractive proposition for me right now against jack. If jack was to see bet big here, I'll probably just let it go. I think versus any large bet, we'll just let it go. We're not looking to flop a pair with nothing else going on here when we have jack queen. We've got like a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. It's not the kind of board we're looking to go broke on. I'd much rather have flopped a draw here than top pair. I'd happily go with the draw here. But I just don't think our hand has enough going on. So we're just going to pitch it. I think I'm kind of leaning more towards overfolding in these games than gambling too much. I'm going to get blown off equity sometimes, because jack queen had some equity there, almost for certain. I mean, we're only doing really badly against sets. Everything else we got reasonable equity against. But when people are just like overbet shoving, I'm tending to find that unless it's the real maniac type, these guys are turning up with some pretty strong holdings in their like overbetting range, and that's both pre-flop and post-flop. Not necessarily with draws too often, more with like medium strength to strong made hands that they're just desperate to protect. I think versus a early position open, we're just going to be check folding the 10s here. If he doesn't bet, he's either trapping or he has a hand like king, king, queen, queen, which we can try and get him up on later streets. We're going to check here, and if he checks again, then we're just going to start turning our 10s into a bluff, targeting king, king, queen, queen specifically. Checks again. So this guy doesn't have a strong hand at this point, I don't think. Or an especially strong hand. I could be wrong. He could be still running some kind of super elaborate trap. I think he's got pocket kings Well, now I don't think he... And basically, when he's taken this line, I've no idea what he's got. It doesn't make a lot of sense. He's check flop, check cold turn, and then just leaves that pot on this river. Doesn't make a great deal of sense to me, but with 2 10s, you have a pretty easy fold. When he open limps from this position, I think we can try and isolate. Overlimp the kings versus a semi-regulars under the gun limp, and then we're going to shove the kings over the raise. Just hope it's not aces. Guy's a very tight player. And I'd rather not be this deep getting kings in pre, but we're going to have to. Nothing much else we can do. Queens. Do we hold? Now his queen's dead. Happy days. Nice. I think he's getting there with queens is not great versus a limp shove under the gun. I doubt it's terrible, but doesn't feel like it's good to me. But we'll take it. King 8 suited. With only like reasonable regulars to act behind. Just not a lot going on for this hand, so we're just going to fold it. There'd be a lot of players who would just open limp, but it hasn't got that much post-up playability. Very disconnected. It's not going to make straights, which is like one of the more common hands that you win big pots with in this game. This isn't going to make them. So it's basically just like you said, pretty shit high card with the flush draw, and flushes aren't are pretty rare in these games. I mean, it's not that they never happen, but you know, if the best part about your hand is it might make a flush, and there's not much else going for it, then at the moment I'm fine just folding it. Ace King here is just a mega standard get in. They all in versus all these limps. And we're in good shape, but not that good a shape. But we do win. So it's a good start to the week. I mean, Ace King that didn't have I mean, it was favourite against those two hands, but it doesn't have a bunch of equity. We didn't have anybody dominated. But we've raised Ace King here, and an absolute Ubernator has just open ripped. That's the sort of spot where last week I was just like, oh, go on then, get it in. And I was constantly seeing pocket kings, pocket aces, ace king. I was just getting it in not good shape pre-flop. I was constantly getting it in with the worst hand pre-flop. And even though the worst hand still has decent equity, it's still getting it in with the worst hand. It's still a negative EV play. How many regs would fold that in my spot? I'm not thinking too many would. But I've been a nit for a lot of years. It's done me no harm. I'm going to continue being a nit in certain spots in these games. I'm not expected to hurt too much. This is disappointing because I would love to see a flop with this hand, but I am not paying another 18 antes to do so. So we're just going to fold it. King 7, very similar to what we talked about the King 8 earlier, only this time we're much closer to the button. And there's more dead money in the pot, so we're going to come along and complete. And we're going to complete the brick. Going to overlimp the ace jack versus 2 potential reg limps. Flop 2 pairs, so we're going to be looking to build a pot here. And given there's so many draws out there, we're going to go with a overbet. There's just so many straight draws out there, flush draw out there, worse ace-x that can cause so many worse hands I can call here. There's just no real reason to be betting small. If we just take it down, then fine, we just take it down. Overbetting is a real thing in these games, or it should be. I don't think too many players are out there doing it very often, but I overbet quite regularly, and I think it's definitely a very good strategy for these games. Works better against fish than regulars, of course, but on boards where there's just lots and lots of hands our opponents can have that are going to want to see turns and rivers, then just piling in large bets works really well. The ace queen, which is going to overlimp again. We've got 2 people who are going to have a decent number of limp raises in their range, so we're not going to give them the opportunity to raise and blow us off a hand as strong as ace queen. Over here we have a gut shot, but we're not going to bet it multi-way. And again, you guys are going to hate me here, but we're just going to limp fold the ace queen versus... I just don't think ISO raises are that particularly weak in these games. I mean, again, last week, that's a hand I absolutely would have just back raised, like limp shoved. Ace queen's probably a fine limp shove, but again, I think I'm going to find my edge in other places. So I'm not going to be getting involved in big all-in pre-flop confrontations without being very close to the top of my range. Now, how close is ace queen to the top of my range there? Pretty close, but fine. And I know some people will be tearing their hair out, and some good players will be watching me saying, "What is this fucking nit doing?" But I'm just doing what I feel comfortable with at the moment, and not what. Sometimes in poker, you do things that you know are correct that don't make you feel very comfortable, and then it can really fuck with your mental game. It can fuck with your confidence, etc. At the moment, I'm just doing whatever I feel comfortable with, and then as I get more and more experienced, maybe some of the things I'm doing now, I'll realise no, they were actually very, very bad. You need to stop that. But now, at the minute, it feels like ace queen is not a good get in pre, so I'm not going to be looking to get it in pre too often. And as I gain experience in these games, the more I see players routinely getting it in with significantly weaker hands that ace queen actually has good equity against, and he's not just flipping against. If I see him, for example, all other players routinely just like isolating ace 10, ace jack, etc., stuff we have dominated, then yeah, we can do that. But at the moment, it's just not what I'm seeing in these games. The all-in pre-flops seem to be from the regulars, just like aces, kings, queens, ace queen, ace king, that type of thing, just like super primo stuff, and then some whales come along with some nonsense. So let's say he'd have gone all in there and, I don't know, 2 whales had called. Then I'd flick it in with the ace queen because the whales are providing so much dead money. It's a very good spot to put money in. But versus just a regular, who's I'm going to assume has not terrible get it in ranges, and I'm happy to just give up a little bit of pre-flop edge against those guys because they're not doing it very often, because they are doing it with tight ranges, and then just continue to pursue my tactic of looking to find much bigger edges post-flop. Give up some EV pre-flop, folding some spots and maybe not supposed to fold. Give up those spots in my mission to find fat edges post flop rather than taking all the like pretty slim pre-flop spots. Just like kind of ignore a lot of them, pass them up in an attempt to get to post flop more often and find much fatter post flop advantages. Get him, Jack. Get him, Jack. Come on, Jack. You can get him. Jack's not going to get him, is he? Jack wasn't going to get him then. That's a shame. And I say Jack. He's not Jack, he's Tom. But get him anyway. They're probably going to go for about 10 more minutes. This table isn't particularly great anyway. We have 1, 2, 3 nits at the table and just like one action guy. Try and limp the 8-6 suited here in the cutoff. See if we can get away with it. We don't, but his raise is way too small, so we're going to try and smash the granny out of a flop. Which we don't, so congratulations, Kufa Cam. This pot is going to be awarded to you just about now. Quite enjoy an Andy Larkin limp shove here because we'd be all over calling it. As it happens, we flop top pair. It's just spot I'm willing to check back, call some turns, then reevaluate rivers. Don't think it's going to be particularly high card heavy here when he limps in and doesn't bet flops. So he's going to bet now, not to deny equity because draws aren't going to fold. Going to bet to like kind of get value from hands that would have head up but can draw. Something I watch a lot of streamers these days, and many of them have got a, that should have been a raise, Reg. Many of them got a real bad habit of like, oh, I'm going to bet here to deny equity. Like, deny equity from what exactly? You know, like when people are betting on mega wet boards, you know, you're not denying anyone their equity because they're just going to fucking call. You know, you might be overcharging them for their equity, but by fuck, you're not denying it. I consider by denying equity being like when you've got pocket fours on a 7 high board and you want king queen to fold. That's the kind of equity that, you know, I'm looking to deny. Just like try and fold out their weaker stuff that can get there against us. You know, if you're out there trying to make people fold strong draws, you know, and that's part of your strategy. I want this guy to fold a strong draw. Then you are doing it, you know. Well, you're not doing it wrong because you're getting value from people's draws, etc. But you are, you know, if you think you're making people fold draws, decent draws by betting, then you are so wrong. Right, so we have 3 queens here. He has no bluffs on this board. Let's be very clear about this. This guy has absolutely no bluffs. So it's just like, how many better queen X does he have rather than worse queen X? We lose to pocket 6s, we lose to pocket 8, we lose to ace queen, king queen. We beat queen 10. We beat queen 9. We don't beat queen 8. I mean, I think this is probably a fold, but I think we're probably going to call, but I think it's probably a fold. Chop it up. Chop it up. He was just never bluffing there because there was just no bluffs available to him on that board. So I didn't like the spot. A lot of people think I probably nit rolled there, but I was genuinely considering folding. Easy fold with the Queen Jack here. Rooting for the Jack 10 to get there somehow. And it does. It gets there with a flushy wushy. Go on, son. Punish him. Punish him! We like that. In fact, we don't just like it. We fucking love it. I'm going to go with the ISO here. And if this guy jams for this side, we're probably going to have to just flick it in against him. Because there could be a certain amount of tilt in his jamming range after that beat he just took there. Going to stab very small on this board. We have more 8x than most people. I don't think, even though I've limped here, I don't think there's a ton of 8x in people's limping ranges. I think we can just stab very, very small on this board and get it through enough of the time for it to be okay. We do pick up a gut shot. We're not going to bet. I'm going to check back our pair plus straight draw here. We're giving up here, hoping to spike a jack on the river so we can just call a bet. Maybe we've got here now with the ace, so we're going to take our showdown value, but no, he had the 8-9. Slow playing is not a thing in this game that you should be doing very often. The games are relatively passive post-flop, but people will call decent-sized bets with, you know, lots of hands that your trip 8s are going to be beating. It's not a game to slow play. The board changes so often. You flop trips in your loving life, all of a sudden the turn comes, and all of a sudden there's straights and potential flushes and things out there. It's not a game you want to be getting trappy in, unless maybe like if you have a flush or something, you could trap with a flush because it's invulnerable to full houses, etc. But yeah, if you are going to start playing this game and you're new to it, you don't want to be slow playing. Strong hands. Try and set mine against Jack. Tom, sorry. I'm not slow playing here. This guy's a pretty tight player. He's limped under the gun and then he's led into us. Now, I'm very confident we have the best hand, of course. But on the flop, I wasn't really slow playing because I think he can have some stronger hands. He can definitely have sets of aces, sets of tens, ace 10, etc. And if he has a hand like ace king, then I'm happy to like just call against that and see some turns. I try and isolate the very loose player with the jacks here. King 7-8 is not going to be a board I'm going to be happy to put too much more money in here. Even if we had a jack on the turn, we can still be in rough shape, and when he leads into 3 players then we have a pretty easy fold with the jacks. King 10, we have a gut shot. The very coordinated board, we have far better hands to bluff with here than the King 10. On the turn though, we do pick up a double gut shot. And we call small bets and then facing 2 more checks. I think we can probably have a little stab, like 80 chips or something. Yeah, it's a shame if we get raised because we'll have to fold, even though we'll have a double gut shot. But I think we chance we can take this pot down now, and if we do get called, then you have a reasonable chance of getting there on the river. I don't count the king as getting there, especially not the king of diamonds. Just going to hope that we're beating. We're going to hope he doesn't have two pair, basically. If he has two, I think he can have some two pairs here that won't fold. So we're not going to try and make him fold them. He had the ace queen, which I think is a pretty ambitious call on the turn. So we're going to start setting out our tables now. Leave that one. I haven't auto topped up at this table, which is a shame, but never mind. Going to go try and isolate with the ace 10 here against this guy. We flop top pair. There's quite a few straight draws out there, but we're going to bet. Hope not to get raised. And we just take it down and we're standing up here. Oh, we posted our ante. That's a shame. We posted our ante and left. Didn't get the timing right there. Which is unfortunate, but never mind. And we take that one down without a fight pre-flop. So let's see how we did at our tables. Lost nothing. Oh, that's nice. And lost there. So we lost like 400 for argument's sake. And won. So, I don't know, we won about 4 buy-ins there in a very short session. And that's how this game is, you rarely have sessions where, nothing happens and you like win or lose a buy-in. You can have sessions where you win and lose, and only win, say, 1 buy-in. But the swings within that session have been whoosh, massive. But it is nice to start the week off with a solid, very short session. Booking a 4 buy-in win and executing what might be to many of you a bad strategy, but it's a strategy I'm choosing to go with at the minute, and I executed it pretty well. Some of you, I made some folds that you guys didn't agree with. I made some raises you guys didn't agree with. Many of you guys will not agree with my strategy at all, but it's what I'm going with for the time being, and I'm going to stick with it because I don't want to be pissing around changing strategies too much. You have a losing session, so you change your strategy. Then you have another loser, so you change again. I like the strategy at the moment, and I'm going to try and execute it for the entire week. See what's going on. Keep talking to my friends, who I'm really enjoying chatting with in the chat groups. And just try and refine my strategy to try and get it as good as it can be without making too many Hail Mary changes every 5 minutes. So probably going to do quite a few videos this week. I'm not going to do all live play ones though. I'm going to try and save some hands. I'm going to try and save post-flop hands that highlight just how many huge mistakes my opponents are making post-flop. There's loads of hands where you can just save and look at this, we got it all in pre with aces versus Queen Jack or whatever. But that's pretty standard in these games. I'm going to try and look for spots where my opponents make some enormous post-flop mistakes and then try and make a review video out of that. So there'll be a mix of live and probably a live play one tomorrow because I might not get enough hands in one day to do a review video tomorrow. But I'm going to try and save some hands up and do at least one review video at some point during the week. But there we go. Hope you guys have enjoyed the update. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, and hit the little notification bell so you can see when all my videos come out. And even if you don't want to watch them all, just give them a click. Just try and get my views up a little bit so we can, because I think the more views the videos get, the better they do on YouTube in general. The more likely they are to be recommended to other people, and we can start spreading the word about what, in my opinion, is the best game at the moment. Well, certainly my favourite game anyway. But take care, everybody. Have a lovely week if this is the only one you watch. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. Look after yourselves. Look after your loved ones. Look after people you don't love very much, and just be nice. Take care, everybody, and goodbye for now.